13 years ago, the Chicagoland Speedway opened. 16 nationwide races have been contested since, and there have been 12 different winners. 4 different organizations have won the last 4 years as we get ready for the Command.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, co-founder of the Solution Project, and Academy Award-nominated actor, Mark Ruffalo.
Drivers, start your engines.
How about the rest of you going? You got me on, brother. Yeah.
Engines have been fired, the electronics come up, the aerodynamics and the tires, well, we've yet to see what they can do here on this 1.5-mile oval. The teamwork about to be put to work for 300 miles. Chris Buescher will start in the 13th position today. He is our in-race reporter. When we get back, we'll talk to him about his prospects tonight to not only win the race, but perhaps to pick up an extra $100,000. Joliet, Illinois, the site of tonight's 300-miler for the NASCAR Nationwide Series, the Chicagoland Speedway, where Chris Buescher has qualified his car 13th. Never had Chris as an in-race reporter before, so big moment for him tonight. You see what he did in the 2014 season so far, his rookie season. After that failure to qualify at Daytona and a couple of bad finishes, the last 10 have been really, really good. DJ, why don't you see what he has to say?
Hey, Chris, Dale Jarrett, ESPN. You have a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
All right, Chris, let me first of all say that was a great job of driving you did last week. I know that y'all took a little gamble on the fuel, but getting yourself involved in this race tonight, the Dash for Cash, was outstanding. We're going to go to our mailbag question first. It comes from Connor in Dover, Delaware. Yes, coming off a 5th-place finish at New Hampshire and having qualified for Dash for Cash, will your team be more aggressive with the car setup and strategy tonight?
I don't know if we'll necessarily be more aggressive with it. I think we have to look at it like any other race. You know, we ever since missing that race in Daytona, our team's kind of taken a step back and said, you know what, let's go out here and let's try and win some races. So I think if we keep that mindset, we'll have the best opportunity of getting that Dash for Cash. So I think we'll keep doing what we do, and we'll make it work. Hopefully get that Nationwide Insurance Dash for Cash at the end of the night here.
Hey, Chris, when I had an opportunity to come down and visit with you and your crew a little bit this afternoon, I got the feeling that y'all are on a lot of momentum, a pretty good high here with things that have been happening over the last 10 or so races. You really believe that not only can you win this $100,000 tonight, but that could be celebrated in victory lane.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this 60 team has made tremendous progress this year. You know, we started with a new team, and we've been trying to build chemistry with everybody. I think we've done an outstanding job. You know, been really happy with these guys all year. Things just starting to come together. You know, like I said, that fifth place run at Loudon was awesome for us. And you know, I'm sure you know as well as anybody how much momentum means in this sport. So I think we can carry it on through the night here.
Hey, Chris, I know that this racetrack has a lot of grooves in it, but as far as where you can race, how will you know when you need to move around on this, being a rookie in this series at this racetrack?
It's tough for sure. You know, I think the 42 is always one of the first ones to go to the top, so we'll be watching for that. During practice, the high side was working really well in the heat of the day, so we'll see how the track changes here at night. You know, we got the Hoosier rubber from the ARCA series before, so we got to pay attention to that early. But once we get this Goodyear rubber down, we should be able to adjust on our car from there and see how line sensitive it really is.
All right, Chris, thanks for talking with us. Hey, you have a great night. We'll look forward to talking to you later on in the race.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Confident young man, got through all the gears there, DJ, and got going and answered all your questions. So we do wish Chris the best of luck tonight, our in-race reporter. Well, we got some great looks for you around the track. We've also got them on board tonight. All 4 of our nationwide Dash for Cash participants will be carrying onboard cameras. Brian Scott, Regan Smith in the 7, Elliott Sadler in the 11, and Chris Buescher in the 60 car. We've also got Casey Kane with the Chevy onboard camera. Chase Elliott will have the Napa on board. Kyle Larson will have the Goodyear onboard camera. Sam Hornish Jr. carrying the Toyota onboard camera tonight. So we've talked about a lot of our front runners. We want to focus now on the guy who qualified 31st. Jamie Little knows why.
Well, Dave, 21-year-old Joey Gase is racing for a special cause tonight. It's called Donate Life. After losing his mom to a brain aneurysm back in 2011, Joey became a proponent of organ and tissue donation. He's trying to help and honor families. You see on the hood of his car tonight, his mom on the right and little Dylan Richardson on the left. Dylan was killed in a car accident back in 2007, and his organs went to save the lives of 3 different people. Now standing in the pit box, rooting on Joey Gase, mom, dad, and the 2 brothers. It's a great feel-good story that Joey Gase is doing to help people around the world.
Jamie, thank you so much, and we'll keep our eye on Joey tonight in the 52, and we know he has lots of eyes watching him, and appreciate all that he's done for that program here tonight. Got some late breaking stories as well on pit road tonight. Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, Dave. You know, based on qualifying, Sam Hornish should be starting 6th tonight, but that's not the case. Sam actually going to be moving back and starting in the 38th position. Why? Because crew chief Adam Stevens said after qualifying, when they went to raise the track bar back up, they found the track bar adjuster was split. So they had to put a brand new track bar adjuster in the car. They hope they got the track bar aligned and maybe misaligned just a little bit, but that adjustment puts him all the way back to 38th. And oh, by the way, the prediction from the team, the engineer told me they're saying he'll be in the top 10 by lap number 8. Here's Vince Welch.
Another good car that's going to the back tonight is the 62 of Brendan Gaughan. He's been one of the better cars throughout the course of the weekend, but in qualifying, he made contact with the wall, suffered some right rear damage, and you'll take a look at it here. Just barely got it, but it did some damage to that crush panel in the right rear. Actually, NASCAR told them they could just tape it up and keep their qualifying position if they wanted, but the crew felt that there was enough damage done to that crush panel that for the benefit of the long run tonight, that they would go ahead and repair it properly and go to the back of the pack. So Brendan Gaughan will start 39th. Shane Wilson, the crew chief, told me we've got 200 laps. It's a long enough race. We think we can make our way back to the front.
Vince, thanks, and thanks for those updates. Andy, the 54 car, a split track bar adjuster. If they had left it that way, what would that not allow them to do?
Well, I'm not sure exactly how their track bar adjuster is. All these teams have their own kind of way of doing that, and it was probably the screw, and it was probably more of a durability issue than anything, and they're probably really lucky they found that when they did. So I don't think starting in the rear is going to hurt them too much. Although that calculation of being in the top 10 and 8 laps, I don't know how an engineer can figure that out, but we'll see how it works.
So that's Sam Hornish Jr., the 9 car of Chase Elliott, getting a little pumped up from his team.
All right, fellas, just like we talked about, everybody do their jobs the best they can tonight. Be safe on pit road. Try to just be there when it counts. Have some fun.
I think Chase has a pretty good possibility of doing well here tonight. We see him getting in his office ready to go. They've added a lap before we go green tonight. That'll take us just a minute to address something that has gone on here electronically. One of the timing lights, actually the pit out light, right there is not working right now. So young lady holding the paddle down there, she is going to stop and go the cars as needed by her discretion. And Ty Dillon and his team talked about that on the radio.
Ty, they're having trouble with the pit out light that's usually green and red. They're not going to use it tonight. It's turned off, so they're going to use the paddle for. I don't really look at that light anyways.
And, of course, DJ, have you had that response before?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But the reason they have the person there or the light is sometimes they don't want you to rejoin the field immediately, correct?
Yeah, and it would be like a gas and go or something like that, and the whole field hasn't gone across there. They want to make sure that you get in line properly, and that's basically what that's for.
It's old school, man. That's what you used to do.
Let that be the only old school thing we do here tonight. New technology on the track. Richard Childress Racing occupying that front row. You see that Brian Scott has chosen the inside lane as the pole sitter. They had great practices yesterday. Brian paced the first practice, and then the other 3 RCR cars led the final practice. DJ, they've been on their game this weekend.
Yeah, they really have, and this is a byproduct of what they've been doing probably for the last couple of months. They've shown a lot of speed. Now can they transfer and translate that into going a whole 300 miles and being up front when it really counts? Brian Scott may do that tonight.
We know he'd be thrilled about doing that with the $100,000 bonus on the line from Nationwide Insurance, as would either of the others in the field today.
Yeah, one thing they're going to have to keep up with is this racetrack, because it's going to be a lot cooler, starting out a lot cooler, and it's going to keep doing that. So I think the teams are have got that in mind, but they have to be able to adjust to it every stop, and they don't have but so many to do it. It's going to be important.
Just a couple of pit stops tonight. We'll see if they'll be under caution or under green. The pace car has its lights off now as he leads the field through turns 3 and 4. He'll drop on to pit road, give command of the start to Brian Scott, who'll be watching that flag stand. Make sure he doesn't jump the initial start. Make sure he pulls the field the best that he can to try to get that first advantage here at the Chicagoland Speedway. 300 miles, 200 laps, set to go in the EnjoyIllinois.com 300. Talked about starts and restarts. Everybody fighting for that position. Andy, what did you see right off the bat?
Well, what I saw was I figured it might take a couple of laps for Kyle Larson to try that high groove. It took him exactly one corner, and he's all the way up the top trying to pass cars. It looks like it's working for him.
Has to be something in the name. Kyle Busch took the weekend off, so Kyle Larson decided he would be that person. We used to see Kyle Busch doing that on the outside, but that's a great start.
Yeah, I heard him have to pedal it a little bit off of turn 2 that lap. Maybe got just a smidgen too high.
And in final practice, there were many trying the second and third grooves here. Kyle Larson, by far, the one who is going the highest. You see Elliott Sadler working underneath Cale Conley. He's in the 33 this weekend. Sadler trying to win 100,000. Conley making his 6th nationwide start of the season.
Yeah, the buzz in the garage areas, this 11 car was really good in race practice, so we'll see how he can make his way to the front.
Yeah, I did send a text. I didn't see Elliott while I was in the garage area, but I texted him earlier, and he said he was really excited about his chances here tonight. Said it's probably the best they've been on a mile and a half in a while.
We were a little concerned after qualifying, though, right?
Yeah, it didn't show the speed there, but I think that just tells me, and what I got from him was that they worked really hard on their race setup, and that's what they performed with and didn't want to do as much as they looked at the sheer speed of trying to get a lap in qualifying.
Yeah, and I know it's early, but this 20 car of Eric Jones has really impressed me so far, and all the practice sessions, qualifying, and these first few laps of the race. I think he's been very impressive for his first start.
Racing for 4th, Ryan Blaney in the yellow 22. Eric Jones making his first nationwide start in the black 20, shooting to the inside, one of 2 regular Cup drivers, Casey Kane.
And this 5 car was one of the other cars that everyone was talking about that had a lot of speed, and we expect that from this 5 car as they've won a number of races this year. Dale Jr. and Kevin Harvick behind the wheel.
And the last time he drove the car at Daytona, he won the race. So
by a big margin, too. Huh?
Oh, yeah, it was huge.
Just a great finish again.
That's a great move right there. Eric Jones not giving up on that. Looked like Casey Kane didn't quite have him cleared, and Jones fought back on the outside and took that spot back.
Second place under contention now, the 3 of Ty Dillon. He's got it. Chase Elliott trying to chase him down. Remember, the 2 and the 3 started in the front row. Brian Scott got the initial lead and has held it. Ty Dillon under attack now.
Yeah, and we've seen these mile and a half to 2 mile racetracks be places that this 9 car with Chase Elliott be really, really strong this year. I was really interested to see if they can kind of get back on their game. They've been on it mostly, other than having a parts failure at Charlotte on that mile and a half track, but they had a good car there. But the 3 plate tracks are where they've lost points, but they don't have to worry about that anymore.
Well, the plate tracks are all in the rearview mirror, but those tracks are places he ran well enough to win a few times. But the things that's really hurt the 9 car lately is fuel. They ran out of fuel at Daytona. They ran out of fuel also last week at New Hampshire. And if they can get that under control, I think they can keep making points up.
You're looking at 10th, Trevor Bayne 11th, James Busher. They go side by side down the backstretch. Trevor holding his line on the outside, and Hornish, who had already made up some 17 or 18 spots, now smoking as he comes off the track on the apron.
Looks like that's coming out from under the hood, too. Looks like it's out from that right front wheel. Not sure if that looks like it could be an engine problem.
I mean, he was flying, and caution is out right now. He was 21st after starting way back at the end of the field. And Sam slows it down as he brings it onto pit road. Saw a little flame out of the exhaust pipe, Andy, as he was decelerating. He's going straight to the garage. Yep.
It's not a good sign.
Wow.
You don't see this very often with this 54 car. Doc, looks like they're trailing some oil to the garage area.
Yeah, he's headed to the garage area, and what Sam said on the radio, about 3/4 of the way down the backstretch, he suddenly got just a really bad vibration, and then the smoke started billowing out. He first thought it might have been a rear end, and now they're thinking it maybe the engine. If you watch the replay, there's a smoke billowing. He said he had about 2 seconds of vibration, and then the plume of smoke out of the back of his Toyota. They are headed back to the garage.
Yeah, it looks like an engine, Doc. All the smoke kind of coming out from the front wheels. Like I said, this is uncharacteristic of this team. They have tremendous reliability. It's a bad break for Sam Hornish.
Well, and to your point, they were leading the Owners' Championship by 33 points coming in here. They'd run solid all year long, no matter who was in the car. Picked up a win at Iowa with Sam behind the wheel. But this will give the 22 car, tonight driven by Ryan Blaney, the chance to pick up some ground. Yeah,
looks like whatever broke was really important.
We'll clean up the guys from the 5 crew going out and trying to clean up their pit box there, because they'll need a fast entry and fast exit. But there's Hornish's car in the garage after starting at the rear for unapproved adjustments and then racing his way to the middle of the pack before smoke billowed from the car. Well, Sam's called tonight. Brian Scott still leads this field as we're under caution for the first time in Joliet. If we haven't mentioned it, the weather in the Chicagoland area has been incredible this weekend. There's a good look at the sunset as the pace car is off. The field gets ready to come back to green. Brian Scott leads his teammate Ty Dillon. Looking at that high line back there, our $100,000 candidate Chris Busher and Landon Castle were taking that third outside groove line. They made it work.
You can see the draft effect right there, watching the 20 car of Eric Jones there, the 3 and the 9 running side by side. He had a huge run. He'll probably figure out by the end of this race, if he gets that opportunity a few more times, that he could go down to the apron and possibly make a pass there, but he did the right thing at this stage of the game.
One thing I saw him do is he actually pushed the 9 car past Ty Dillon in the 3. Now you can see that draft at work. See sparks flying off Casey Kane.
Kane to the bottom underneath Ryan Blaney. Blaney holding down the 5th position. Here's 11th, Trevor Bain in the 6th, Regan Smith in the 7th.
Yeah, Regan Smith probably just trying to minimize damage as far as his points lead this weekend. It hasn't been a good racetrack for him. They struggled some in practice again also, so they're probably just looking to finish in the top 10 and not lose all of their lead.
I've seen that before out of this team, though. They come in having so-so practice sessions, and then they come back and get a good finish. That's how they have the point lead.
Here's Regan's teammate, Chase Elliott in the 9, getting that good draft on our leader, Brian Scott, into 1.
You can see right there, Brian Scott really drive the car off into the corner, but we were riding along with Chase Elliott. You can hear him get back in the gas and make this huge run off the corner.
He's right on the back bumper of Scott as they head into 3. Chase looks like he has a little better car right now, DJ. What's Brian Scott thinking?
Yeah, he really does. And then we'll watch here once again. Watch the 2 car pull away on the entrance to the corner. And Chase Elliott to get a good run. He's able to get down just a little bit lower, just get a little bit of air to the left front of that car to help the nose turn. He's going to he's being very patient here. And what a young driver should do is be patient in that situation, but he knows he has the better car, and he's just looking to pounce. Whenever the 2 maybe can't get back to the gas full throttle, he'll drive right by him.
Talked to Chase this afternoon before qualifying. He said, I really wasn't sure about what I've got, because at times this weekend the car has been great, and at times it really wasn't that great, but they practiced during the day. The closest they got to race conditions was final practice last night, but that ended before our race even started, so they're really playing with something new here with the track.
Looks like they made the right guesses, though. This 9 car is very, very strong, and I'm like you. I think he's just being really patient, waiting on a little bit of a bobble out of the 2 car just so he can make a fairly easy pass.
You know, most times if you have a pretty good race car in the daylight whenever they were practicing, all that the sun going down, the racetrack cooling off, that's just going to give your car more grip. So you're probably just going to have an even better car most of the time. Looks like he's got a nice run off the corner. Still not quite there.
No, he tried to do it. Good grip through the center of the corner, almost had it. And now Kyle Larson taking on Casey Kane for 6th.
Now, these two on the right side of the screen are the two that I basically thought would be the cars to beat when it comes down to the end of this thing. And I still do. I think you're going to see that 42, Kyle Larson and Casey Kane. They're full-time Cup drivers. There's a reason they race on Sundays, too. So we'll probably see them right at the front.
As we watch the 2 of Scott being pursued by the 9 of Chase Elliott, who gets a good run off of turn number 2. And he'll look for that lead. Jamie Little is covering the 9 car tonight.
Draw the round by
You're right there. Clear. A lot of patience on his behalf. But what Chase was saying is that when he got up close to Brian Scott, his car got really snug. And that's what you were seeing. It was disrupting the airflow, and his car was moving around. Wasn't as stable as he wanted it to be. So he had to be very patient and take what the car could give him. And right there you see our new leader.
We can just see right through that corner it wasn't all that snug. He was turning that wheel to the right a little bit.
Yeah, and the one thing that it might have done, too, there, I noticed that Brian Scott was a little higher, especially down in 1 and 2. Got a nice run off the corner, but this 9 car now out front, getting that clean air, I think is finding his car to be completely different, probably on the loose side.
The onboard with Chase Elliott, fantastic. Watching him work the wheel, watching him check his mirror for Brian Scott now that he's the leader. And Brian changing his line, fishing for where that 2 car might be best. Looks pretty relaxed in there, DJ.
Yeah, he does. He's got a good handling race car, and that makes it fun. This is a fun racetrack to race on. And as much as anything, searching around for different grooves and seeing what you can do as a driver. You can really make a difference in these type situations on racetracks like this.
The leaders are just about 1.5 to 2 seconds ahead of Ty Dillon, who runs in 3rd. Ryan Blaney is in 4th now. The 5th position being held down by Eric Jones. And 6th is Kyle Larson. You see the gap there. The 2 have pulled away.
Yeah, I think Brian Scott's found something by using that higher groove. He saw that last corner. He used that high groove to get the momentum. Now he's looking for the bottom, just like Kyle Larson is on Eric Jones.
Pass back for the lead. Oh, Brian Scott attempting off of turn number 4. Has to give way. Chase gave him room.
Yeah, this is where you have to be careful on the entrance to these corners, racing side by side. We talk about this on these bigger racetracks a lot. You can see there, though, Chase Elliott didn't push the issue by trying to stay on the side of him, but you could create a situation that wouldn't be good. Crossover move, coming back to take the lead again.
How about that? DJ, is this what the drivers call fun racing?
Oh, no doubt about it. A lot of fun. You know, and sometimes, as we've seen Brian Scott move up, you find another lane by doing this type of racing sometimes to where your car actually feels good. You can run that higher lane sometimes. You don't wear the tires quite as much, so your car's a little better in the longer run.
Oh, this is good stuff now. These 2 cars are very evenly matched.
And remember, that one, the one you see, the 2, $100,000 on the line for him tonight if he can be the highest finishing points eligible driver. Brian Scott will take home that bonus from Nationwide Insurance.
Yeah, I believe if my memory is correct, these 2 drivers were racing for that final spot to be in the Dash for Cash last week at Loudon, and it was Chase Elliott that finished right behind Brian Scott and wasn't able to be a part of that. He's looking to take care of that little matter as we head to Indy.
This is the 3rd time we've had the program here at the Chicagoland Speedway, and it creates such a great race within the race every time we've seen it. Daytona, perfect example of that. We had guys that we hadn't seen up at the front before qualify. New Hampshire, same way, and tonight we'll see who can walk away with the $100,000. So Kyle Larson, we talk about how he tries the lines and runs a lot in the high groove. Well, he had his hands full a couple of laps ago. This is underneath the 20 of Eric Jones.
Oh, boy, he's chasing that thing up the hill, and Eric Jones gives him a little bit of a break.
And as a driver, you like that low line there. You literally drive out of the corner. You're wide open in the gas. You're driving right towards the wall, but it's extremely bumpy down there. And you get the car kind of walking up the racetrack, you can find yourself in trouble, but Kyle Larson's learned to handle that situation.
Here we see Regan Smith in the 7, the 99 of James Busher, and the 62 of Brendan Gaughan. He's up 26 spots after starting in the rear. He also had some unapproved adjustments, tagged the wall in qualifying, and wanted to make some repairs before they sent him out to race tonight. It looks like the right move.
Yeah, his car looks pretty good. They don't move up that many spots that quick.
So as these guys race, back of the pack, the 9 of Chase Elliott has now led this race, and he continues to lead as we come back to Chicagoland Speedway. A lot of racing for you this weekend and next weekend. Tomorrow, it is actually tonight following us. It's qualifying for the Mopar Mile High NHRA Nationals. That'll be on ESPN2 right after our race. The finals are tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern on ESPN. And then next week, we head to the Brickyard. These Nationwide Series drivers. Saturday coverage beginning at 4 p.m. on ESPN. And then Sunday, the Brickyard 400 presented by Golden Corral. Coverage starts at 12 Eastern on ESPN. You can also watch both of those races live. Watch ESPN. Third place changing hands. Ryan Blaney in the yellow 22 has it.
Yeah, this driver that we'll certainly have to watch. This 22 car, successful every single week. And we saw Ryan Blaney last year win at Kentucky, a 1.5 mile racetrack that is pretty rough in itself. So look for this car to be up front in the mix whenever things get to the end.
Vince Welch is watching over the 22 tonight. Vince, what do you got?
Well, they're pretty happy with it. He says it's a little free middle off, but he says it's a very small complaint. So they've been very happy with the 22 throughout the course of the weekend, and certainly in this early stages of the race. As DJ mentioned, he did run 3 weeks ago at Kentucky, finished 5th in that race. And there you see crew chief Jeremy Bullins on the right-hand side of the screen. And they believe that running in that race at Kentucky will help him tonight, because that was also a race where they practiced in the daytime and then raced under the lights. Thought they would give him a better understanding of how the car would change and be able to provide the proper feedback to Bullins that he could make the right changes and adjustments with the car, that they'd have something to work with all the way to the end.
Thanks, Vince. That brings up an interesting topic, day to night. I thought coming to Chicagoland this year, the comparison to Kentucky would be bumpiness, but everyone told me there is no comparison. Kentucky is unto itself. But that day to night thing, Andy, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is, and I think that Jeremy Bullins does one of the best jobs of any crew chief down there of adjusting to those conditions, and other drivers. I mean, he won with, 4 drivers last year? And one of those was with Ryan Blaney at Kentucky, and I think that they've got that history with him now. And he just continues to find ways to get that 22 up front and in victory lane.
Yeah, that's what's so important for a young driver, is to have someone that you can really rely on, that you know is going to make those right calls and make the right adjustments on your race car that understands all that. And Jeremy Bullins is that person.
You saw Regan Smith move his way into the top 10. That's significant as Regan battles for the Nationwide Series Dash for Cash $100,000 bonus, trying to work his way up to the front. And now the 22 of Blaney working on the 2 of Brian Scott. Remember, Blaney now in a statistical tie as they run for the Owners' Championship. If you missed it, Sam Hornish is behind the wall and out of the race in the 54 car. And as they run right now, Blaney has tied and likely will be that championship leader before the night's over, the Owners' Championship.
Well, he'll have to finish in the top 3 to either be tied or in the lead. It looks like the 54 won't drop any more spots because he's at the back of the guys that are out of the race. It looks like it's kind of all up to the 22 team if they can capitalize on it.
They might be up to the task. So you saw a minute ago the 33 of Cale Conley get passed for 10th by Regan Smith. Conley started in the 10th position. Really hasn't moved forward or backward. The 62, on the other hand, has come from the back.
It's been pretty impressive. I mean, to move that far up, just passing his teammate now. Looks like they made whatever adjustments they made that were unapproved. Looks like they were the right ones.
You know, I always think about Brendan Gaughan, and he's done a nice job in this Nationwide Series, but you think back to his days in the Truck Series of the success that he had, and a lot of that came on the 1.5 mile tracks, and he just really likes to get the car running and be in the gas a lot, and knows how to navigate and maneuver around these, and he's doing very well tonight.
Chris Buescher going underneath Cale Conley. Conley going the wrong direction right now as we see the 22 of Ryan Blaney getting that second spot from Brian Scott. Scott coming back on the outside.
See just a little wiggle out of the 22.
The 22 may have a car that will be a pick for him on the 2 car. Nope, that's a nice move by Brian Scott to get into that corner hard enough to keep that position for the time being.
You see Matt DiBenedetto in the 40, giving him room to race there. Lap down at this point.
A lot of young guys up front right now.
Average age of the top 5, 21 years old.
Wow, that was quick. How'd you do that?
I got my best man on it right now. Thanks, Russell.
And that's what's great about this series, this nationwide series. That's what it was designed for. Give these young drivers the opportunity to race on the tracks and in cars very similar to what they will race in the Sprint Cup Series as they try to progress and get to the top level of our sport. And so this is great seeing these drivers run this well.
They saw that one shot right there, the 22 car wiggling off turn 4. There's a good bump down there that upsets the cars quite a bit.
Great racing all around this mile-and-a-half, 13-year-old track, never been repaved. Gives the drivers a chance to seek out the line that'll work for their car at the beginning of a run. And near the end of the run, we're lap 44, and they haven't pitted for fuel yet.
Yeah, we just saw right there, Brendan Gaughan just finally got passed by the first car that's passed him all day. He's been doing most of the passing, but Chris Buescher makes a nice pass and going to the front.
And there you see the serial for Brendan Gaughan from where he started, 39th today, again after adjusting that car following qualifying. So Chase Elliott has now led 24 laps. They're taking it from Brian Scott. And as Chase is in the lead, we'll see if Blaney can run him down. We are within shouting distance of downtown Chicago. Joliet, Illinois, the site of the Chicagoland Speedway. Opened for racing in 2001, and man, there have been some great races here and some first-time winners along the way. I wonder what we might see tonight. Major League Baseball action tomorrow on ESPN has two of the best teams in the National League. Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers are in St. Louis to face Matt Carpenter and the Cardinals. Sunday night baseball presented by Taco Bell. LA Dodgers and St. Louis Cardinals, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. You can also catch it on Watch ESPN.
Here we come, fellas.
Each of the last 12 races have featured at least one round of green flag pit stops. Our leader, Chase Elliott, has come to pit road.
I'm not surprised to see this 9 car be one of the first cars on pit road after all the problems they've had in the last couple of races with fuel.
Exactly right.
Be a little more conservative this time.
Absolutely. You see Greg Ives leaning over the box. Jamie is covering the pit stop.
And he already led 30 laps tonight. He got out in front and checked out, saying he's just a little bit snug. He asked for air pressure out of both rear tires. We'll put 4 stickers on there, fill them up with Sunoco fuel. Should be a quick stop. No chassis adjustments. White the grill. 13.6 solid.
Brian Scott has led 20 laps tonight. He brings the 2 car onto pit road. Good time to mention some of the crews getting the weekend off. There are some crews that are substitutes this weekend, all professionals. They have a chance of being real heroes tonight for the teams that they're doing pit stops for. Jamie, back down to you.
Been a great weekend for Brian Scott. Fast off the truck. They've been happy with it. Just made small tweaks to the car, saying he's too tight in the center of both ends of the racetrack. They're going to make a wedge adjustment. You see the wrench go in the window right there. Great onboard footage right now of the over-the-wall crew taking us through Brian Scott's pit stops. He was our pole sitter tonight, and it's good. It's good to talk.
Yeah, points leader Regan Smith saying the car really loose on entry, loose off, 2 rounds of wedge, left rear, and 4 tires for the points leader who has struggled at this racetrack.
Jamie mentioned the great pit look. That was Ethan Marquette, the rear tire carrier on the 2, carrying our crew cam. Jamie?
Eric Jones, first ever pit stop in a Nationwide Series car, doing a great job so far this weekend. Qualified in the top 5. There's a wedge adjustment for him, saying he's snug. A lot of these guys surprised how snug their cars still are. They expected them to free up sooner than this. They wipe the grill, fill them up. Eric Jones, 14.9, a winner in the Truck Series already this year. Meanwhile, the 3 car, Ty Dillon, saying he's a little too tight as well. Wedge out is the call. 4 tires. Danny Stockman with the call on the pit box, counting his driver in. The wrench is in the right side. The windshield, they make the wedge adjustment there. Go around to the left side, and Casey Kane's in.
Right side of your screen, Casey Kane already changed right side tires. Going to go 1 up on the left rear track bar. Left side air pressure. Kane saying the car too tight on entry and a little bit too tight on exit.
Green flag pit stops continuing here at lap 56. You see Trevor Bayne making his way on the pit road. Ryan Blaney has been leading and gaining points. Doc?
Trevor Bayne said he has not driven a car this free the entire weekend. The car started out free and got even freer, held on to a top 10 position after starting back in 11th, moved up as high as 8th. Now they will come in, make a chassis adjustment, left rear and air pressure vents.
The 22 of Ryan Blaney went from free to loose in the late stages of that run, so they made a track bar adjustment. Also right side air pressure, Sunoco fuel, and 4 tires. Doc?
Elliott Sadler normally has a cup crew. This is a completely different crew than what he normally changes tires. He told him, he said, guys, just get lug nuts tight. Sadler said, I need more right rear grip on entry. They made an adjustment on the right side and 4 tires. Jamie.
Kyle Larson started 12th, worked his way up to second. Had to wait to get into his pit box because Landon Castle was in the box ahead of him. It was a clean stop. 4 tires they filled. Kyle Larson up with fuel.
The lead is cycled around right now to Ryan Reed. There he is. Whoa, just getting it woed down inside the commitment cone. A lot of these young drivers having these green flag pit stops. Vince?
The 16 of Ryan Reed, tight. That's been the complaint throughout the course of the run for Reed. They made a chassis adjustment, 4 tire change, Sunoco fuel for Ryan Reed. Got it woed down just in time. Smooth stop so far, clean and away.
So Ryan Reed back on the track. Lead cycles around to Dakota Armstrong and his Ford. He'll get a championship point lead. That's what I was mentioning about Ryan Blaney earlier. He's actually, based on where Sam Hornish is going to finish, Blaney, by leading that lap, got closer to getting the 22 into the Owners' Championship lead by the end of the night. Here's Vince with Dakota stop.
Dakota Armstrong bringing it in, stayed out late, so brings it in as the leader. It's going to be another 4 tire change. You're going to see that up and down pit road throughout the course of the night. Says the car has been a little bit too snug, but mainly when he gets behind other cars. So they're not going to make any significant adjustments with it. Stop a little bit slow now, pulling away at 16 seconds plus.
Costly time on pit road, but Dakota is cleanly back out. He exits the pit road here at Chicagoland as the pit stops have pretty well cycled through all the leaders. And it cycled back around to Chase Elliott, who had a 4.4 second lead over Ryan Blaney before they pitted, and lost about 3 seconds, gained about 3 seconds over Blaney through that series of stops. Andy, one of the reasons why, of course, pitting first, he has the fresher tires and the faster laps sooner.
Yeah, he pitted about 5 laps sooner than did Ryan Blaney in the 22. And that gave him those 5 laps on a little fresher tires, and that stretched his lead a little bit after it cycled through.
So Chase Elliott went in the leader. He comes out of green flag pit stops the leader. Ryan Blaney and Brian Scott trying to figure out how they can chase him down for the lead here at Chicagoland. Chase Elliott with a handle on things right now at the Chicagoland Speedway. 66 laps are complete. We've been through our first round of green flag pit stops. And that car has been sweet for the 9 team after Chase started in the 3rd position. Second place is Ryan Blaney. You see the gap that he's put on him. And part of that was the strategy call to come in early with the 9 crew. Jamie, after the trouble they've had the last couple of weeks, I bet that was a pretty smart move.
Yes, it was. He was the first one to hit pit road, and this was the radio communication afterwards.
How much did we short these guys by? Was that just for fuel reasons or just wanted to? It was 1 lap before our fuel, or we're in our window anyway, so it was 1 lap before we calculated we were going to be out of fuel. Simple, good call.
So erring on the conservative side and the driver giving it a thumbs up from them. And right now, just a note, guys, we talked about how the track hadn't changed. Well, Chase is now saying it's starting to free up, so it's getting cooler, and we have caution on the track.
And that is for Richard Harriman in the 23 car. He's obviously had some wall contact. Not too bad. He pretty much hit it flush, it looks like. Let's see what we can see, Andy.
Yeah, he got a pretty good piece of it.
Saw Chase Elliott, the leader, go by and thought, man, I need to pick this up a little bit.
I'll tell you, that erased an 8.7 second lead that Chase Elliott had put on this field. That's incredible what he's done so far. And some of it was that early pit stop where he got the fresher tires a little sooner than some of the other cars.
DJ, if your car's not just right, what's that feel like coming off the corner there and just not being able to stay off that wall?
Yeah, you're trying to stay in the throttle, and both of these exits of these corners 2 and 4, they flatten out rather quickly, especially turn 2, and you lose that banking. And you want to stay in the throttle, and he can see the fastest car on the track up there in front of him, and he was trying to duplicate that. And sometimes your car and yourself aren't quite capable of doing that. So you can turn the wheel, but sometimes the worst thing you can do is let out of the gas because the car will dart to the right a little bit.
Andy, leader of the race, was last on pit road 19 laps ago. Do you make any move here?
Yeah, they might do that. We'll see. It'd be kind of interesting to see what they'll do. He made that early pit stop, Chase did, so he's, like I said, he's got 5 laps more on his tires. And if he comes down pit road, he might drag some more of these leaders with him. This might be an opportunity, though, to get the field split on strategy.
The first car 1 lap down, by the way, was James Busher. He will be the beneficiary of the free pass from NASCAR and get his car back on the lead lap. There you see him positioning himself right there behind leader Elliott. Pits are open, and yes but no.
I'm kind of surprised that he didn't take that. I think he could have pulled a few more with him.
So Chase Elliott stays out. Most of the leaders do. The first one to pit, a few cars back. We'll be back to Chicagoland after this break. Good look at Navy Pier there in downtown Chicago, where the beautiful people hang out when they're not here at the Chicagoland Speedway. I'm looking at DJ and Andy. Dave Burns with you here also. Looking at a great race tonight at Chicagoland Speedway. Dash for Cash under contention here tonight. The 4 drivers involved: Brian Scott, Elliott Sadler, Regan Smith, and Chris Busher. Chris Busher is our in-race reporter. DJ, style him up.
Chris Del Jarrett, you have a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
All right, now we've gotten to where you have no more sun on the track. It's probably cooled down a little bit. What kind of difference are you seeing in the track so far?
Speed has definitely picked up. I think looking at lap times, we've gained a couple tenths. Grip has picked up, but at the same time, the balance of the track has changed. Got a little bit to the tight side for us. So I think we just made some good adjustments. Our last run there was very fast, very comparable to the leaders. So get through this traffic, see what we can do.
All right, keep up the good work. Talk to you later. Thanks.
Thank you.
So Chris continues to motor around, Andy, in the 11th position, and pit stops may have been a little bit of an issue for him already.
Yeah, I think they had a little problem on that pit stop, getting the right front tire off.
This is the first one, actually, when they pitted for the first round of green flag stops.
And you see they're trying to clearance that fender just a little bit more.
And they pitted again to just continue to work on that, Andy.
I'm just looking to see if he touched the wall maybe, or maybe he got together with another car that bent that fender, and it's caused him some problems.
And aero, very important here. We already saw them pulling the draft down the front straightaway and able to use that. So you got to make the body the way it needs to be, right, DJ?
Yeah, that's what these drivers rely on. We talk about aerodynamics so much, and that the front is the first thing that sees the air and makes these cars really do what the drivers want them to do.
One thing I've seen so far, though, is on those adjustments on those pit stops, almost every car was either taking wedge out or racing the track bar. The track is a lot tighter than most people anticipated.
So we did have, by the way, Dr. Jerry Punch reporting that the 39 and the 60 got together, and that may be the nature of their repairs. Chase Elliott leads the field back to green. But Ryan Blaney powers back through on the low side. That was a pretty good restart.
Yeah, it really was, and we talked about how exciting it is. You can see a couple of rows, 3 wide, entering the corner there. But up front, where Blaney took the lead, he was really ready. Chase Elliott looked like spun the tires and just couldn't get his car powered up quick enough, and that 22 was ready to go.
This is dicey. Conley on the outside, Kwasniewski in the middle. They get it straightened out. There you see Blaney legging it out a little bit now over Brian Scott, who's taken over second. So Chase Elliott from restart leader to third.
And Chase Elliott's got the most laps on his tires since the last pit stop, and that helped a lot in the beginning of that green flag run. That's how he put the distance on the other cars. But once the caution came out, lost that, what he had gained. Now he's got a little disadvantage when it comes to the tires.
Yeah, I was a little curious that he chose the outside, but I think that he only chose that just the main reason he thought that he would clear everyone. He could take his wide entrance into turn 1 and make all of that work, but not being able to get it powered up as good cost him a couple of spots.
Battle for 10th here. Brendan Gaughan on the high side, Eric Jones on the low side and the apron on the front straightaway like we saw last lap. Jones is going to prevail right now.
Yeah, he made a pit stop under caution, and they had a little damage to the right side. They fixed that, and they also put 4 tires on this 20, so he should be able to come up through this field pretty good on this run.
Yeah, Brendan Gaughan pitted, but he just put fuel in his car, so a big difference there with those 4 tires.
And the same thing with Casey Kane. He made a pit stop, and he's already back up to 6th place. But he only got fuel, but he's got about 15 laps more on his tank than some of the other ones.
Jones was the furthest forward of those that pitted. He was running 6th. Here's Kyle Larson in the 42, working the bottom against Chase Elliott. Love that shot and that sound. Off of turn 2, Brian Scott holds down that second position. And Kyle Larson now searching for where his car can make up the ground.
I think that's one of the impressive things, as you said, searching around that Kyle Larson as a young driver does, whether it's in this series or the Cup Series. He really doesn't wait around. If he's not getting the speed or the feel that he's looking for in his car, he's ready to take it somewhere else and see where he can make it work and move forward.
Like up there. Larson low, Larson high. And there are others doing that too. Again, we talked about final practice, just starting to seek out that high line. Definitely 3 grooves at play here at Chicagoland Speedway.
I see Blaney pulled out a pretty good lead. Running some pretty fast lap times, some of the fastest of the night.
As Larson looks low again, Andy, I was going to ask, does a crew chief tune the car for a particular groove here, or does it have to be able to run everywhere?
Well, what you're doing is you're basically tuning the car to what the driver's telling you to do. If he says the car's tight and he's running high, you tune it to where he wants to run. And that's kind of dictated by his choice. You see that with Larson, he's all over the place.
I was going to say,
right.
Which one?
He's just gonna go. So all you're trying to do, you're not trying to tune the car to run one certain place. You just want to keep the driver happy. And if you keep a driver like Kyle Larson happy, he's going to do some good things with it.
DJ, what made you happy?
Yeah, well, when my car drove, you know what you wanted to do. You wanted to be on the bottom the shortest way around most of the time if you could do that. And I usually found if I could make my car work on the bottom, then I could take it anywhere on the racetrack most of the time. But now these drivers and teams, they practice alone in these cars so much. We used to get in packs and things, but it's so determined by aerodynamics of what you can get. And so that's what Kyle Larson does as much as anything. If he can, when he goes to pass cars, we saw him right there utilize the outside where he could get to that clean air and make his car work. And that's the most important thing, is being able to get that air on the nose of your car.
Larson takes second. The gap up to first and Ryan Blaney, 1.3 seconds. This is third place. Actually, third place, Chase Elliott on back. You see the Nationwide Series points across the top there. Regan Smith came in with the lead. He currently holds it. Chase Elliott now just 1 point behind as they run.
Yeah, as is Elliott Sadler, 1 point back as they run too.
It's the 3-car battle we've been kind of seeing here. There's a couple guys in 4th and 5th, maybe with a few good runs can get their way back into it, but these have been the 3 lately. So Ryan Blaney got the jump on the resumption of the race. Kyle Larson has now moved his way into second place, chasing him down. Chase Elliott and Brian Scott in tow. Great racing here on the ESPN Family of Networks. It's the Mopar Mile High NHRA Nationals qualifying tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. That's after our race. The finals tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern on ESPN. And then next week, the Nationwide Series at the Brickyard. Next Saturday, coverage begins at 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. We'll see if Kyle Busch can double up on that. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, Brickyard 400, presented by Golden Corral. That's next Sunday. Our coverage starts at 12 p.m. on ESPN. You can catch everything on Watch ESPN as well. Here's our leader, Ryan Blaney at Chicagoland. He's in lap traffic. Joey Gase in the 52 down to the inside. Tanner Berryhill in that 17. And I'd say they give him room, but boy, not much.
I said, excuse me, I'm playing through.
It's not exactly what you'd like to see from these slower cars. And there's a big difference in some of the speeds and lap times that we see here. You see Kyle Larson, he kind of got a little bit of an advantage there in that, because the 22 had to check up just a little bit to make sure that they were going to give him that opening.
The gap last time by was under a second now, and you can see the distance is closed up. The yellow car of Blaney now being caught up by the 42, and you mentioned that traffic, a big reason why. Trevor Bayne, Cale Conley racing that battle for the 10th position. Conley stayed up most of the night. He hasn't really moved forward yet. I thought he'd be a little bit quicker after the get-go.
He's impressive, though, in doing this. No more than he's getting to race and run these cars, and you come to a difficult racetrack like this and battling for a top 10 spot. Very good.
I spent some time with him in the garage area yesterday, and he said the biggest thing is racing was the biggest struggle for him, not doing this every week. He can get up to speed pretty well, and he showed that in practice. He was quickest in one of them. But he said, learning how to race these cars has been one of the biggest things, the biggest hurdle for him. And so far, he's getting a lot of experience racing other cars.
Yeah, that's one of the good things that he's done is when he does get that chance that he runs a lot of laps. And, if you go out there and try to be Superman and try to do things that you and the car aren't ready to do, then you're not going to get that experience that you need. Then you're just delaying becoming a better driver.
Let's hear about both these cars from reports on pit road. Let's first go to Vince Welch.
Well, just to echo what Andy and DJ were saying, and Cale Conley told me just before he got into the car, he said it's all such a huge learning experience. And then Richard Childress leaned in and spoke to Conley just before, and Childress told him, he said, bring it back with the fenders on it. Don't put yourself in position to get in trouble, and you're going to have a good finish. So if you see Cale Conley be a little bit more conservative than what you think he maybe should be, that's why they want to bring it home in one piece. Now let's check on that car in front of him, the 6 with Jerry Punch.
Yeah, Vince, that would be Trevor Bayne, and I told you in that first pit stop, Trevor had said that this car is as loose as he has driven all weekend, so Chad Norris took a pretty big swing at it, made some adjustments to try to help the car tighten up, but right now it is too tight. Trevor said the car is so tight it will not turn in the middle of the corner, so they're going to go back on some of those adjustments, try to get it to turn on the next stop.
Gentlemen, thank you for those updates. I want to get back to the 33 real quick. That sponsor on there I've been asked about a couple of times. It is IAVA, by the way, Iran Afghanistan Veterans Association, and it's really cool to see that on the race car, helping those veterans when they come home get their lives restarted. And Richard Childress Racing happy to carry those colors in honor of some of our veterans. Saw Elliott Sadler a little bit earlier in the points graphic we had. Elliott currently running in the 7th position in that 11 car.
Yeah, this car was Elliott's car, the 11, was really good on the long run as they got down before they made those green flag pit stops. He drove his way up to about the 3rd spot before that happened, but he's been extremely loose, looks like, and just hoping that this car will come to him as they run on.
Well, I think one of the things we saw in that first run is everybody was tight, and his car I don't think was. I don't think that was what it made it come to the front at the end of the run, but as they put new tires on and the other cars did make adjustments, I think that his car has gone actually just a little more to the loose side.
Of course, both of these drivers racing for that Nationwide Insurance Dash for Cash. The second round of that to be awarded tonight for the highest finishing points eligible driver right now. That is the 2 of Brian Scott, but these guys are trying to make up ground on him. Scott just running ahead in the 6th position. Elliott running in 7th. Chris Buescher running in the 8th position. And Regan Smith back in 13th. Man, his struggles continue here at the Chicagoland Speedway. Just ahead of Jeremy Clements there. Here's the Regan Smith 7 car.
Loads right front, unbelievably loose. Travels down, unbelievably tight. Turn wheel, unbelievably loose off. I'll tell you, Ryan, that wedge did nothing. It's the same balance. And I might suck, but I don't this bad. We suck that bad, so we're going to do the best we can right here. Work it out best you can so I get a chance to try something else.
Yeah, it's a frustrating night for this team, but if you're going to win a championship, you're going to have nights like this, and you have to figure out a way to minimize the damage. And I think that you'll see Regan Smith do this. I think even though he's kind of denting a little bit on the radio, he's found a way to make something out of these kind of runs. And we'll see how it works out for him as this thing goes on. But, Doc, they're struggling a lot tonight.
Been a frustrating weekend here for him, Andy. This is not one of his better racetracks. In fact, his average finish here is 24th, which is disappointing when you're trying to hang on to a points lead. Regan said they were really tight in qualifying, and now you heard what he said a moment ago about how loose the car was. You know, Ryan Pemberton took a big swing at it with 2.5 rounds of wedge, hoping to help it, but as you heard Regan say, it's not helped it very much at all. In fact, Regan a moment ago said the car is evil. He said, I've got my hands full. What Ryan is planning on doing now on the next stop is he's talking to the crew right there about taking the wedge adjustment back, putting it back in, and trying to do it with track bar and air pressure to help it. That's what they're discussing right now, trying to help the points leader hang on and minimize the damage at what is not a very good racetrack for him here in Chicago.
And one of the problems with making these wedge adjustments on these cars today is it changes a lot of other things, and it sometimes gives you an unexpected result. The best thing they can do is go back on it and go to another adjustment that they feel like will be in the right direction, because they've probably loaded up the springs in a little bit of a way that's gave them this unpredictability.
Drivers with the blue spoilers, they're the ones that can win the $100,000 tonight. Regan Smith wishing that was worth a little bit more speed here at the Chicagoland Speedway here tonight. Ryan Blaney has led since the race resumed. Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott trying to find a way to chase him down. Battle for the lead got hot while you were away. The 22 of Ryan Blaney was caught by Kyle Larson. He's been caught again. This time Larson's going to try to complete the pass for good, and he's not got him yet.
You see Kyle Larson found something that was able to run him down, and I think it was running high in turn 1 and 2 and kind of on the bottom in 3 and 4. Lap traffic has definitely played a factor in this, but this 42 car's finally found something.
Good patience right there.
The 9 is on pit road, Jamie.
And he was the first to hit pit road the first time, and once again, they want to be extra careful, don't want to run it out of fuel, saying the car is freed up a bit, the track is changing, track bar adjustment, 4-tire stop, and they filled them up with Sunoco fuel.
So again, early for Chase Elliott, Andy. I know they're being conservative, and they don't want to make the same mistake again, but keep an eye on how that strategy might work out for him, as Ty Dillon now brings the 3-car down pit road. He was running in the 12th position. Jamie?
Ty Dillon keeps saying he just needs to snug it up a bit. He wants a little more confidence on the pedal, so they'll adjust for that. 4-tire stop, the handoff for the second can of Sunoco fuel. Overall, pretty happy with the car. Just needs a little bit better, and he stumbles there exiting pit road.
Second round of green flag pit stops happening here in the EnjoyIllinois.com 300. 6 of Trevor Bayne is on pit road. Doc.
Remember, they were too loose initially, made an adjustment, then too tight. They were going to go back on some of that adjustment, and Chad Norris was going to make a slight air pressure change. Right side tires going on Trevor Bayne's car. Going to make a 4-tire change. Can't afford to go 2. Back that on the air pressure, and they're going to make that adjustment and take it back out. Vince.
The 22 of Ryan Blaney has come in. The car is just too tight, much tighter than it was the first run. It's going to be a 4-tire change. Also put a little tape on the front end and an air pressure adjustment for Blaney.
Back down to Doc.
Elliott Sadler said the right rear is not in the racetrack. They did not make the track bar adjustment initially. He wanted on the first stop. Now they are going to. All they did was air pressure. Elliott was not happy with how the car was handling. Hoping that adjustment will get the right rear in the racetrack and let him be able to get up off the corner.
Kyle Larson on the right remains on the track. You look at him perhaps dipping down low to pit. He remains the leader. Ryan Blaney, who was his challenger, closest challenger, he has already pitted. Vince with the 16.
The 16 of Ryan Reed says he needs me to get tightened up. The first part of the run was much too free for Ryan Reed's liking. Couldn't do the work that he wanted to do. It's an air pressure adjustment, 4 tires, a little tape on the front, and Sunoco fuel for Reed.
42 is now on pit road, and it was dicey getting in.
Boy, he really pushed the limit right here, and I'm going to be surprised if he wasn't speeding in this first segment. Jamie?
And Scott Zipadelli's crew chief calmly said, don't speed, don't speed. So he brought it on down, saying that he's just a little bit free on exit. That means it's really free for Kyle Larson because he likes his car moves. 4-tire stop there. Do not speed, be patient are the words of advice for Kyle Larson.
think he can talk about it all he wants, but I think coming in that first segment, it looked like he was having a hard time getting that thing slowed down.
And that rhythm, DJ, braking, turning, shifting, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tight pit road to get on because you're still in the groove coming off the corner. You have to get down there, and he had cars that were coming behind him. And as a driver, you want to make sure that you don't get run over from behind. A lot of times they don't see you waving that you're coming in. So it's a handful in making all of that happen, but sometimes you find yourself in trouble. This 5 car, they pitted under the last caution. I thought they might stay out there for a while, but I think tires are worth so much they're not going to be able to do that.
There's a group of 7 that pitted the last time on lap 70. That included the 5 car of Casey Kane, who is now our leader. This is Brendan Gaughan. He's running in the 5th position. Vince?
For Brendan Gaughan, it's just been too tight in and too tight off. That's what he fought the first stop, and that's what he's fought throughout the course of this other run as well. It's going to be a track bar adjustment for Brendan Gaughan, 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, slight air pressure adjustment as well for the 62 who started in the rear tonight.
Great look at Brendan Gaughan coming down and getting serviced on pit road. The crew, fantastic work for the 62. Here's Casey Kane.
Doc, Casey had said it's still a little bit too tight on exit. He said it's somewhat of an enigma. He said some laps it'll really grip coming up off. Other laps it will just slide off the corner. Going to go 1 round out left rear, 4 tires, get it completely full of Sunoco fuel. That's the call from Ernie Cope.
So Casey Kane back off pit road after a 14-second stop. The lead has cycled to Eric Jones, who also pitted on lap 70. Eric making his Nationwide Series debut. This is Cale Conley. Vince?
It's been a good run for Cale Conley. They've been conservative, but he's done just what a driver with very little experience should do. He's kept it out of trouble, and he's kept it in the top 15. Right now, he said he's finding the line that suits the car, but it's still a little bit too tight through the center. Air pressure adjustment in 4 tires. The 7 is coming to Doc.
And we told you how they were going to back out on the wedge and go with the track bar and air pressure. All the issues that the points leader was having with the car being free, not getting better. So getting the right side tires on. Now watch for the adjustment. There in the left rear window goes the adjustment. Got to get it full of Sunoco fuel. Air pressure, backed out of the wedge, track bar change, trying to get the car to handle in, middle, and off. Jamie.
Eric Jones in his first Nationwide Series race drives for Kyle Busch Motorsports in the Truck Series. Remember, they've already used up a set of tires that the other teams haven't, so they're putting on the 3rd set right now because he got into the wall earlier on the right side. Car seems to be okay. The good news is he just led his first ever Nationwide Series laps. The fuel flowing there, and they get the tires on long stop. 19.1, Doc.
And here is Chris Buescher, his first chance to win $100,000. Mike Lingerfeld, one of the best tire changers in the business, works on the 99 Cup team, changing the front tire as a sub this weekend. There's a chassis adjustment, getting it full of fuel. 13.8, 4 tires, good stop for that Nationwide team.
And that bodes well for Buescher. He had led a couple of laps, stayed out as the leader. And cousin James has the lead of this race in the 99 right now. James Buescher last pitted on lap 71, so we'll soon see him on pit road as well.
And once all these cars cycle through and James Buescher is the last one, they'll have one more stop. Everybody's in that window to make one more stop to the finish.
Yeah, one thing that I was a little curious on was the 7 car, our points leader in Regan Smith, staying out that long. And I think it was probably a strategy that maybe they could get a caution. When you get that bad, you find yourself that far behind, you hope that you can do something because they're going to be a lap down as all of this cycles around. So tough night for Regan Smith and that team so far.
So James Buescher soon to pit, and then that will hand the lead back over to Ryan Blaney, who runs in the 2nd position, and Chase Elliott in 3rd. Ethan Marquette carries our crew cam tonight on the 2 car for Brian Scott. Ethan is the rear tire carrier for Richard Childress Racing on the 2.
A resume second to none already. John Force earned his 140th national event win 2 weeks ago in Norwalk, Ohio. That's a massive 43 more than the next closest competitor. The NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series Western Swing begins in Denver, Colorado.
A under caution here in Chicagoland. Lap 8, not good for Sam Hornish Jr.
No, really big surprise. I mean, these guys got great luck when it comes to engines. The engine blows in this Joe Gibbs car, the one that Kyle Busch normally drives. Crew chief's really upset, throwing things around. A bad day for the 54.
Tied championship battle. Chase Elliott running up front. His teammate Regan Smith struggling a little bit.
Yeah, as of right now, Chase Elliott is leading the points. Chase has led 45 laps tonight, been super strong. Regan and Elliott Sadler both have just been mediocre at best. Chase Elliott looks like the strongest of the three.
And then the race within the race. This one, the dash for cash. And how about a good night for Brian Scott so far?
Oh, yeah. We expect Brian Scott to run good here. This is one of his favorite racetracks. That 2-car has been running fantastic tonight. He's driving hard. I'll tell you, he's in 5th place right now. But I'll tell you, that's a bad sign right there.
Never a good sign. When your hauler is able to pack up and leave the track before you're really, and not even, almost just pass halfway.
You never see that number 54 pulling away, especially when Kyle Busch is driving that thing. But Hornish was doing great. But that thing blows an engine, very, very uncharacteristic of that 54 led by Joe Gibbs Racing.
76 to go.
Yeah.
When we're looking at the top 2 right now, it really is the future of the sport. You've got Ryan Blaney out front, Chase Elliott in second. What are you expecting from these young drivers as we continue on?
I'm expecting these young drivers to have a fit with the guy who's in 3rd place, and that is Kyle Larson. But
also the future.
All 3 of these guys really, really strong. Brian Scott's been so strong, though. He's a top 5 car all night long. I'm expecting him to reemerge and get back in the hunt here.
Doc, what's going on with Regan Smith?
Well, you name it, he struggled with it tonight. He described the car as being evil, being a handful. They have come back in again now on this caution to be able to make another adjustment. 1 round out of the left rear. They had gone back on the wedge, done with the track bar adjustment, made an air pressure change. And I mean, the guys are really working hard to be able to get Regan a chance to have a good finish here. Ryan Pemberton talking to his driver, talking to the guys on pit road. This stop again, another round out of the left rear to try to get the car where he could turn it and not be free. Now, an update on the 11 car. The guy who's second in points, Elliott Sadler, also has a shot at the $100,000. Elliott had to come back in. He said the adjustment we made just 14 laps ago has the car bouncing on the splitter. They had to come back in, 4 tires, a chassis adjustment, and topped it off with fuel. Nicole?
Thank you, sir.
I tell you, I'm really impressed tonight with watching Ty Dillon. We talked about him earlier in the show, about this is a good chance for this guy to shine. You know, a lot of hype coming in before the season started with Ty. He's running 4th right now, looking good. He's moved up to 4th in the points. Having a good night so far.
Ty's doing an excellent job. All the RCR cars have been really, really strong tonight, including Cale Conley doing an outstanding job. But old Ty is rocking that thing right now.
Major League Baseball action on ESPN tomorrow. 2 of the best teams in the National League. It is the Dodgers in St. Louis to face the Cardinals. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. Dodgers in St. Louis, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. You can also catch it live on Watch ESPN. Mr. Burns.
Thanks, guys. We have seen a lot of great racing here. Look forward to watching a little baseball tomorrow night. Now, here we're getting ready for the restart. Earlier, NASCAR was a little bit concerned about perhaps the way the 22 restarted the race. Let's look at a replay.
Now, in this restart, he was not the one that was controlling the restart. The 9 car was actually the leader.
Yes, and the rule states, and what NASCAR tells you, is to stay up. You can see the 22 was back, got a little bit of a run, and was still kind of on a rolling start, and that's really not acceptable. I think he probably just got a little bit of a warning here.
Here's what they discussed on the radio.
All right, so on the restart, NASCAR told me to tell you to stay even with the leader coming to the line. I asked them to tell the leader not to jam the whole field up and drag everybody down, make it hard on you to stay even with him. Yeah, I mean, we got to the center of the line, he just stopped, so I don't know what they want me to do.
Difference this time, Ryan Blaney controls the restart in the 22 on the inside. And by the way, he pitted earlier, as did Chase Elliott, than the 42 of Kyle Larson on that round of green flag stops, and that's why they were able to gain an advantage. We mentioned the 11 and the 6 on pit road for 4 tires. The 62 was on pit road as well. He took on 2. J.J. Yaley got the free pass.
talked about get what you could on these restarts. Kyle Larson got everything he could to the front.
I was watching the 6 wide, and then all of a sudden Larson's the leader. Look at that. Kyle Larson back to the point at Chicagoland.
That was awesome.
I thought so too. Chase Elliott now looking to the inside of Ryan Blaney. Now, that restart was a whole lot better, but didn't turn out as well for Blaney.
That was a good move by Chase Elliott, the way he got position on the 22 getting into turn 1. Looks like he's able to hold it just for a moment here. See if he can complete a pass. It's a tough situation right there.
Nicole talked about the future of the sport. These 2 young drivers are going at it in Joliet.
Well, they really are. You could see that Chase Elliott just working the steering wheel on the exit of turn 4, trying not to get into the side of Ryan Blaney in that 22. Great racing here at Chicagoland.
Here comes Ty Dillon in the 3 behind him. Dillon's in 4th, and right behind him his teammate Brian Scott, now under attack from Trevor Bayne for 5th.
They get back down here to 3 and 4. There's a big bump down there. When you run side by side, your car's already loose. You saw Chase Elliott chasing it over that bump. This time he gets clear of Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, that was a nice move. He stayed with that, didn't put himself in trouble. Ty Dillon trying to make that work too. And you see the 6 car who was just in under that last caution, got 4 tires, fuel, made a little adjustment. Looks like it's working for him right now.
Fresh tires certainly are.
Certainly helps.
Big advantage.
Sliding it off of that corner though.
Well, they won't stay new long like that.
Tire abuse, but that's how you get to the front sometimes. And now Bayne to the outside of Brian Scott. Great racing for 5th. Whoa, close off the corner.
I saw just behind them as they entered turn 3. I think that was Chris Busher, our in-race reporter, that was completely sideways down in 3 and 4.
Well, our restart leader, Ryan Blaney, tired of losing positions. He's lost 3 since they dropped the green.
His car looks loose too, but this 3 car is about as solid as I've seen him all year. Ty Dillon doing a great job.
DJ mentioned the 60. We're on board with Casey Kane looking at Chris Busher.
Well, now I see why he was sideways. Yeah, that happens when you get run into. But
call that mechanically loose.
Clear high, clear.
Little contact, and that looked like great. It looked like Casey thought that he had a run. The 60 car was making a wide entrance into the corner and decided to turn down across there. So a little contact. Great save by Chris Busher there.
10th place right now for Busher. 3rd in line for those eligible to win the $100,000 from Nationwide Insurance tonight. Vince, what's going on with the 22 right now?
Well, their car has certainly changed in the way it's handling for Ryan Blaney. He says it has gone from tight to wrecking loose, but all they did was put on a little tape and adjust the air pressure, so they're a little bit confused as to why the car's handle has changed so dramatically. But Jeremy Bullins just told Ryan Blaney a moment ago, you've got the same stuff you've been working with all night. Just settle in. We'll work on it next time you come through, but see what you can do with what you've got right now. Use those fans and the tools you have in the car to see if you can help it yourself.
Well, they made some adjustments to free the car up, and I think the track's gone a little bit freer as the speeds pick up. But you can tell by watching that car that it really is wrecking loose.
Yeah, and the things that they did to free it up, and the speeds have increased here, so you're getting more downforce on the front end as that happens. So everything is kind of working against them right now. They'll have to make a pretty good adjustment on what should be probably their final stop whenever that comes about.
Some of these engineers have scales on how to describe their race cars. I have a feeling every crew chief knows what wrecking loose means when a driver gives them that type of feedback. Ryan Blaney trying to recover in the 4th position now in that yellow 22. Meanwhile, up front, it's gotten closer. Kyle Larson got the jump in the great restart. Chase Elliott's now chasing him down.
Yeah, Chase Elliott now starting to really close this gap on Kyle Larson and look like he did in that first run. He lost the lead a little bit earlier, but his car looks like it's as good as it was at the beginning.
We've seen both of these drivers have a lot of success on the 1.5 and 2 mile racetracks. They've really won their races on that type of racetrack, both of these drivers, and so not surprising to see them both up front here tonight.
Well, and it's interesting, DJ. You know the other time that Chase Elliott led any laps on a 1.5 racetrack? It was Texas. That, of course, was his first career win in the series. Went on to win again the next week at Darlington, backed it up, and trying to get the victory here tonight at 1.5 mile Chicagoland.
He's trying to pull something that Kyle Larson is usually doing, and that's run that high line and take that away. If he can get to that outside of that car and get on that quarter panel a little bit, he'll drive by him. Kyle Larson will try to use up a little more racetrack as he now sees what Chase is doing. Yeah, he's moving up the track already. That could have been Chase's plan, too, is to move him up so he can drive under him.
Whoa. He gets much more wiggle out of the 42 there. He's going to have a shot.
Yeah, both of them had to get out of the throttle right there.
We've heard the driver of the 9 car described a lot of different ways: an open book, a sponge, a kid who absorbs information that he picks up with his eyes from his own race car and from what he sees other drivers doing. And that kid last year was Kyle Larson. So this year we're seeing Chase Elliott kind of pull a Larson on him.
I tell you, I spent some time with Chase Elliott yesterday in the garage, and it's just when you talk to him, it's almost like you're talking to, one of these Cup drivers that's been driving forever. I mean, it's just everything he describes about the car, about how they go about doing their business, and how he's racing on the racetrack, and even the problems that they've had. He's got so much maturity that it's not even natural. I mean, it's almost I can't think of a kid this young that can be as far advanced as he is in his career.
And we hear the crew chief saying they've got to be careful with those kids that seem like veterans. They've still got to treat them like rookies and explain how to get this thing done. Right now, Chase is trying to get around Larson to get it done. We talked about Chase Elliott working that lead, and he went from second to first. He got around the 42 of Kyle Larson, and now has led his 47th lap here at Chicagoland Speedway. Welcome back. Here's how it happened.
It's like Kyle Larson got just a little bit too high that lap.
Here's how it felt to Kyle Larson.
Look in deep there. All clear. You all right? Yep.
Yeah, DJ, watching him, I get the feel that doesn't bother him a bit. He's just another lap. He got control of it, and on he goes.
Yeah, and again, he's just so good at searching that. And a lot of drivers kind of ease into those things, but he goes right up there. And nobody really had been anywhere close to that high intentionally tonight. But he drove up there to try to carry a little bit more speed, see if he could make that work and keep the lead at that time. Didn't really phase him, though, and it doesn't do that.
There he is again.
Slowed down for a minute, cleaned his tires off, and now he's coming back to him.
He was within a tire width, that lap right there, of being that high.
Fun to watch is Kyle Larson, and even more fun when he wins races for his team. That's what they're counting on, and Kyle's certainly capable here tonight. He's shown it all night so far. Has led 19 laps on the night. Chase Elliott in the 9 car, your current leader. And it looks like he's coming back. I was gonna blame that on traffic, but now he's making up ground with nobody in between him.
Yeah, he's making this work. He's very diligent in making that. When he finds something that he likes and likes that field, he sticks with it. It may not work right at first. Chase Elliott, after that happened, it took Kyle a minute or two to get his tires cleaned off because there's a lot of stuff up there. Makes it difficult. But once he was able to do that, he's fought his way back, and we'll try to make that pass on the outside here eventually.
Casey Kane was running 7th. Eric Jones in the 20 to challenge. Kane working back on the outside.
I expected this 5 car to be challenging for the win tonight. He still might, but he's kind of mired back in the second 5 of the top 10 most of the night.
And I was interested to see what Eric Jones in that 20 was going to do. I mean, we know what Casey Kane's capable of. You can see this 22 around Blaney really struggling now. This car just continues to get looser. He's going to be ready to get on pit road and get 4 tires and make an adjustment. But Eric Jones in that 20 has done a nice job of keeping this 20 car up in the top 10 all night, getting great experience. This is a very talented young man.
Jones described to me by crew chief Kevin Kidd as an 18-year-old with a 35-year-old attitude. He said whoever has trained this kid how to race, and I believe it was his family, did him right. And Eric Jones has shown it. They took him testing, and they wanted to learn about him, but they also wanted to learn something for their company. And Kevin told me one of the worst tracks we go to for our company and nationwide is Richmond. So we went to Memphis, where they don't even race anymore, but it mimics Richmond. And he said the information gained from young Eric Jones was as valuable if they'd taken one of their regular drivers. Great racer, Jones. Now, how big a swing is Jeremy Bowen's going to have to make on that 22? He last pitted on lap 110. Got about one more pit stop to go before this thing's over, Andy.
Yeah, they have to make one more stop, and I'm sure Jeremy's making a plan for it. He's been very, very good at making these changes, and I'm sure he knows what to do. They had a car that was almost dominant there, that one segment, but I think that everything happened just right. I think the track had changed.
You can keep hanging on. I'm going to push it a little further, but you got to let me know, okay?
I think they've got a plan on what to do here.
And remember, he restarted as the leader, now back to the 8th position, Vince.
Well, and one thing that Ryan Blaney, I'm sure, did not want to hear was just a few moments ago when Jeremy Bullins came on the radio and said he wanted him to give him 20 more laps if he could. And I know that Blaney didn't want to hear that because he had just told Jeremy Bullins that we're going to knock the fence down at this rate. So it's a little bit of a tug of war right now. Blaney not happy with the car, seeing cars continue to pass him, and Bullins needing to keep Blaney out on the track to stay in the right window that they want to be in from a strategy perspective. So certainly a tough situation for the 22 right now.
Back up front of the lead. Kyle Larson has caught Chase Elliott, not that time.
Jeremy Bullins with that 22 is in a kind of a tough spot. They are in a window. As a matter of fact, here I think we see him on pit road. He's in a window to make it to the finish, and he needs to do something.
Track bar down, round and a half.
Vince?
Well, you heard the call there from Bullins. Track bar down, a round and a half. They're going to put 4 tires on it, give it as much fuel as possible. He also has some damage in the left rear, just behind the rear well. So that's something he did not have on his previous stop. So there's been some contact that Blaney has had in that situation as well. Clear off the grill, and Ryan Blaney is gone. Stalls it. Now they
push him.
Away he goes.
A terribly long pit stop.
Don't speed right here.
Not sure what they were struggling with right there, but it was extremely long.
Yeah, it was long, and then he stalled it as they dropped the jack and tried to get going. So pretty much a disaster from that standpoint. But they've pitted. They've taken the gamble here that the fresh tires are going to allow them to catch up. If this goes green, they'll be in a better position than what they were, certainly.
And Andy, a round and a half down on the track bar. How big an adjustment is that?
That's a fair adjustment. I mean, round and a half, he'll definitely feel that, and I'm sure that they know the magnitude of it.
So Ryan Blaney back to the 15th position after pitting. And we're going to look at the move for 6th place. Look at this. Ty Dillon down to the inside of Brian Scott. Trevor Bayne watching it all happen. Through traffic, here comes Bayne. Back at the Chicagoland Speedway, the EnjoyIllinois.com 300. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all of your latest NASCAR information. 5-car of Casey Kane is on pit road. Last round of stops starting, Doc.
Yep, Ernie Cope, so let's come in early and get an advantage. So they decided to come in. They're going to take a little round out of the left rear. Casey said, I like what you did before. Give me some more. Left side tires, there's the round out, getting full of fuel. And that's the final stop for Casey Kane, trying to win another one for Junior Motorsports.
Junior Motorsports teammate Chase Elliott is on pit road after a great battle for the lead while we were in break with that 42 on the right-hand side. Jamie.
Chase Elliott saying he's free in when he's in traffic, and he just made the call and said, leave the track bar up, don't touch it. 4 tire stops, they'll fill them up with Sunoco fuel. The car has gotten better as the track has cooled down. Meanwhile, the leader, 42, Kyle Larson on pit road. They could have stretched it out a little bit longer, but they want to stay close to that 9, who they've been battling here for the second half of the race. They count him down into his pit box. Kyle Larson going for race win number 3 on the season. One of 3 full-time Cup Series drivers in the field toward saying they want to tighten him up just a little bit. Car got a little too free. 4 tire stop. They already made the air pressure adjustment in the front tires toward the windshield off so he can see clearly. And the 2 of Brian Scott, pole sitter tonight, led early, 20 laps. The handling has gone away. The car just got too tight. He wants some help for the restart. You see the adjustment right there. He wants to be able to be aggressive if we get another caution, and he needs that restart.
Lead handed over to Trevor Bayne right now as Brian Scott goes through the gears. Cale Conley on pit road, Vince.
Yeah, it's been a real solid night for the young Cale Conley. 4 tires and fuel, no changes. They've hardly touched this race car throughout the course of the night. Crew Chief Nick Harrison has given his young driver a good piece to work with. The stop is clean in under 13 seconds. Well done.
Great way to get on and off of pit road for Cale Conley. in this day and age. Again, Bain leading. Eric Jones has cycled up to the 2nd position right now, and Elliott Sadler runs 3rd, the highest running driver in our Dash for Cash race within the race tonight. Trevor looks like his car is pretty solid right now, DJ.
Well, I've been watching him in the lap times. Very impressive. They've made some great adjustments to this 6 car and got him in a position to win the race.
Yeah, some of these cars, we see the 20, the 11, 6, all of those can go about 10 more laps if they choose to. Now, we've seen quite a few of those leaders come in early trying to get that jump with those fresh tires.
You saw 42 learned his lesson, right? At least they looked at the data and what had happened last time. Kyle Larson went to the rear for staying out, lost the lead for staying out too long under green flag stops.
We'll see how that affects Trevor Bain. He was running those leaders down. He had gotten up there pretty close to him when they started to make those pit stops.
He just put J.J. Yaley back a lap down. Great run for Yaley tonight. He got the free pass a few laps ago, was running in the 13th position before the round started, and right now running in 7th, yet to make his final stop as well. Casey Kane, Brian Scott. They have just pitted. That is for 10th position. Brendan Gaughan is in, Vince.
Well, it's been a strong night for Gaughan. Remember, he started at the rear of the field because of that wall contact in qualifying. He's marched his way up through, been in the top 10 most of the evening, but the car's still too loose. 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment.
Well, I like that camera angle. You can really see that pit stop from there.
Well, we showed that a couple of times, and it really does show how everything is orchestrated there and how they go about it and making everything happen in just a short amount of time.
Trevor Bain working the high side through turns 3 and 4. Bain has now led just 7 laps this time by. Assumed the lead after the front runners pitted. He last pitted on lap 124. And Elliott Sadler now making his way to pit road from the 3rd position. Sadler, as they run, shown as the championship leader by just a few points, trying to lock that down tonight, as well as a $100,000 bonus. Doc.
And Sadler has said that the car is as tight as it's been all weekend. He said, guys, just go back on what we've done. Every time we've made an adjustment, the car's gotten tighter and tighter. So there they are going to go back on the adjustment on the right rear air pressure. He said the car, quote, wouldn't even think about turning in the corner. It is plowing, although he came in 3rd position. His final stop is done.
Thanks, Doc. Yeah, one of the final guys to pit. There's still about 5 guys on the lead lap who have not pitted, 5 drivers. And as they cycle through, we'll see who comes back to the lead. One of those is Trevor Bain. He continues to stay out.
Yeah, and I wonder how long they're going to do this. They've got a really good race car, and they weren't far behind the 9 and the 42, who were the leaders before all of this started. But he's losing somewhere 2 to 3/10 of a second a lap. He's running really good lap times. Those guys with fresher tires, so he doesn't want to get himself too far behind. I know that it's tempting to stay out there because you got a lot of people a lap down.
And Casey Kane just in the wall. That's kind of the play here, right, Andy? They're waiting for that caution.
Well, that's what the 6 car has been waiting on as a caution. They almost got one right here.
Wow.
Casey Kane gets in the wall pretty good.
Kane was just on pit road on lap 161. Adjustments made to that car, but off of turn 4, not working the way he wanted them to.
You have to look at my tires, Kevin. Yeah.
Casey was running 9th when he tagged the wall.
There's debris up over there by 4 from that.
And he stays in the 9th position as they run.
See, Trevor Bain is he almost has to stay with his strategy now to go ahead and run his tank out of fuel and see if he can catch a caution, because if he does, right now there's only 3 cars on the lead lap. That'll put him in a really good position.
Trevor, here's the scenario, bud. We're getting ready to put on our last set of stickers we can go 15 more laps than anybody else. I'd like to stay out a little bit, but not give up a bunch of track position. So 7 or 8 laps more, give up a little bit of track position to buy ourselves some on this last set of tires for the end of the race.
So that was a little earlier, radio communication to Trevor, and now they are losing that time.
But I think they saw that, that contact with 5. They're thinking there might be a caution. So they may have extended this a little longer than they had planned.
Well, and if Casey Kane was reporting, he actually might have gotten into something up there, then maybe they're thinking that NASCAR might be seeing something as well. Doc?
That wedge back in it, get you rolling them.
Yeah, Trevor into the back of the 51 trying to get him out of the way, but Trevor said this car is, quote, stupid fast at the top of the racetrack. Before the race began, Trevor said, if the top groove comes in and we have a long green flag run, we will be the car to beat tonight. And right now he's showing that is the case. And they asked him about, he said, should I go ahead and pit now the leaders? He said, no, with the lap times you're running, stay out for a couple, 3 more laps, and then we'll put that final set on. Right now, Trevor's saying the car is dialed in the best it's been all night long.
Well, he dipped down there, indicating perhaps it is time. But, boy, you hate giving up the lead when your car's that good, DJ.
Yeah, you do, and I just hope they haven't waited too long because he does have a really fast race car, but we'll see just how far behind he's going to be to Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson whenever they come back out, who will eventually be the leaders. Doc?
And reminding him not to speed. Very, very difficult, very easy to speed on pit road here. 45 miles an hour. They'll come in, make the final stop. Trevor has not won since June of 2013 at Iowa. Boy, would they love to get this car in victory lane for Roush Fenway. Chassis adjustment. No, they call it off. Left rear tire going on. A little bit of an issue with the left rear, and now he is away. Still a good stop, 13.1.
Jamie?
18-year-old Eric Jones doing just a great job tonight in his Nationwide Series debut. He's been on it. He's giving great feedback. He's taking cues. His relationship with Kyle Busch helping him throughout the weekend. Been talking to Kyle on the phone. This will be their last stop of the night. Just tried to free him up a bit. Car was getting too tight as it cooled down.
Eric Jones back on track after his final pit stop. Just a couple of guys yet to go, hoping for that caution. But then we'll cycle back around to the guys who have led most of the race tonight, the drivers who have been dominant here at the Chicagoland Speedway, including the one you're on board with, Chase Elliott, the 9, here at Chicagoland Speedway.
NASCAR Nationwide Series at Chicago is brought to you by Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic Motor Oils with Pure Plus technology. Motor oil reimagines. And Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss.
The 18th race of the NASCAR Nationwide Series 2014 season is Chicagoland Speedway. We've seen a great one tonight. A lot of lead changes, a lot of line changes. And the 99 of James Buescher appears to be out of fuel, stretched it just a little bit too far. It was last on pit road on lap 121. And now he coasts. He will make it to pit road. Chase Elliott is our leader. Chase has led 69 laps this time by. And with 17 laps to go, let's go up to speed with Nationwide Insurance. We want to hear about our Dash for Cash drivers. Let's start with Jamie Little.
Well, Dave, Brian Scott's running 5th right now. He's been on point all weekend, started on pole, led 20 laps early, but ever since then, his car has just been tight in the center. That's what they've adjusted for, and it just hasn't helped it enough. He has maintained that top 5 position, and if he finished the race where he is now, he will qualify for the Dash for Cash next week, the 3rd stop, and it just so happens to be Brian Scott's best track. Doc?
And how about giving a call to the 21-year-old Prosper, Texas driver? Yeah, that guy right there, Chris Buescher. What a job he has done. Car wasn't to his liking early on. We showed the replay of how the car was sideways a couple of times. He changed his line in turn 3 and 4. Scott Graves made a big adjustment on the car, and now he has driven the car up to 7th position. First time ever to have a chance to Dash for Cash, and he's still got a good shot. Got a pretty good race car. Now back behind him in 10th position. This is the 10th time that Elliott Sadler has had an opportunity to race for the Nationwide Dash for Cash. He's won it 3 times, including here in 2012 when he won the race. On his previous stop, he said the car was plowing, would not turn. They made a big adjustment. Now Elliott said the car has gone from very tight to very, very loose after the last stop. He runs 10th. Now when the night began, the points leader was this guy right here, Regan Smith. He came in with an 8-point lead coming off the $100,000 Dash for Cash win last week at New Hampshire. But it has been an abysmal night for this team. Ryan Pemberton and the crew have worked so hard to make adjustments on the car. But Regan said it stays loose. It's gotten a little bit better, but it has been a handful. And to quote Regan, it has been evil. Evil enough that he has lost the points lead and may lose all the way back to 3rd spot. Dave?
Thanks, Doc. This is 3rd place. Casey Kane is going to lose it to Kyle Larson.
Yeah, after that 5 car hit the wall and hit it pretty good, it's been faster. I watched his lap times right after that to see how much it hurt the car, and it was actually quicker. I don't know what that adjustment was, but it seems like it's really helped him. And going back to Trevor Bain, who's running second, he's about 3.5 seconds behind Chase Elliott. He's got about 14 lap fresher tires. I'm not sure he's got enough time to catch him if we don't have a caution, only 12 to go. But if we have a caution flag, it's really going to put Trevor Bain in the driver's seat.
And Andy, don't think the 9 crew isn't aware of that 6 car coming.
Keep whipping it hard. Like I said, the 6 car pitted not too long ago. They made that strategy move on the earlier pit cycle.
So they know he's got the fresher tires, and that gap was about 4.4 seconds when they went back to continuing their run. And as you say, it's down to under 3.5 seconds now.
Yeah, well, the strategy is to go ahead and get that gap, and that 9 car did that, and they have to try to do everything they can to maintain it because that 6 car is going to be a little faster.
He's going to be faster. He doesn't have enough time, I don't think, unless the 9 car runs in on some traffic that really slows his progress. But as you said, if we should have that late race caution, then things could really change because Trevor Bain does have a fast car and fresher tires.
And our point leader coming into this race is Regan Smith, and they're going by him again. Really having a tough night.
In fact, as they run, Chase Elliott, the race leader, has jumped up 2 positions to take the lead back that he held earlier this year. Regan Smith currently falls back 1 spot to second. Elliott Sadler running in third as they go right now. You talk about the traffic. Really, Trevor Bain has caught the worst side of this. Chase Elliott had a pretty clear racetrack, but Trevor's having to work through these guys right now.
Yeah, and these are the same guys that Chase Elliott had to maneuver through, and so as that time difference was going down, it was because Chase was being just a little bit cautious, which he should be. He's got a fast race car. He's totally in control of this race right now.
And the difference might be where they caught him, right?
Absolutely, yes. And a lot of those cars, as Trevor Bain called them, they were running that higher line that he wanted. Chase Elliott was able to drive by him on the inside, so that helped a lot.
Kane not giving up on third. He takes it back from Larson for the moment. Larson fights back on the high side.
Great give up in Kyle Larson.
Or Kane bouncing off the wall. Remember these 2 guys, their weekend off before the long chase to the championship and Sprint Cup starts, taking their skills out to Chicagoland in the Nationwide Series.
Now, I'm serious. That ball contact made this 5 car faster. He's going to get a top 5 finish out of this.
They are over a straightaway behind our race leader, Chase Elliott. He's just flashed across the line. 7 to go now for Elliott.
Still has about a 3.4 second lead over Trevor Bain in second.
There's the gap. And DJ, if you had that, quote, stupid fast race car, what's the thing you have to avoid as you're trying to chase down the race leader right now?
Well, I mean, you obviously don't want to overdrive the car as you're trying to do that. You have to recognize whether you do have some legitimate chance of running him down or not. But just continue what you've been doing. He knows his limits and what he's been doing. He's had a fast race car here the last half of the race. They've made great adjustment. But this car has really been the car all night long. He has led the most laps, and we've seen him fall back a couple of times, Chase Elliott, but he's been very solid. But, you know, Trevor Bain, good solid night for them, a run that they probably really needed as an organization and a team.
Boy, I'd say so. It's been tough for him. Logged back in 6th place in the championship right now. Not where Trevor Bain or that team expected to be this year. The lead car of the Roush Fenway organization, working with a couple of other rookies on the side, the 60 of Buscher and the 16 of Ryan Reed. This is the lead car as we see that battle for third in big traffic now.
These drivers are really driving hard. Yeah, and you think about it, this isn't their regular job. Watch this. They're going to split this 70-car dirt cut. Go by. Yeah, this is. If they could have taken this week off like a lot of people did, they know they have 17 straight weeks coming up in the Sprint Cup Series. Going to try to be in the chase and be a part of that and try to win a Sprint Cup championship, but they'd rather be here racing, honing their skills even more.
From veterans to rookies, I think tonight the one word we can say about the racing we've seen here has been fun. They have duked it out. They have diced between traffic. Even when there's been no traffic, they have worked the lead and the top positions very, very hard. And right now, Chase Elliott's the best of them.
And once again, we see the type of racetracks that kind of give us the best racing. You know, it's not the ones that have recently been repaved or anything where there's so much grip and all the cars are just really, really fast. Here you are able to maneuver around. This is a great seasoned racetrack, and it provides great racing for the fans.
Trevor Bayne trying to chase him down. 2.5 seconds is the gap, so he's getting there.
Yeah, but he's running out of time.
3 to go. Been 38 races since Roush Fenway Racing was back in victory lane in the Nationwide Series, and I believe that was Trevor Bayne at Iowa back in 2013, a year ago.
I'll tell you what, this young man, Chase Elliott, Andy brought it up earlier, just he drives and acts like a seasoned veteran, and you know, he's had great leadership from his dad, a Hall of Famer in Bill Elliott, but he just has so much poise and ability about him, and certainly the story of the year in this Nationwide Series.
0.3 seconds, nice smooth, coming to the light.
2 wins already this year for this young driver. The somewhat similar in length Texas Motor Speedway for his breakthrough win. The tricky Darlington Raceway a week later. They've had adversity lately, but they have bounced back today.
All he has to do is bring it back to the checkered flag.
You talk like that's an easy thing to do. As a driver, that can be difficult at times.
Yeah, and I got to give the crew a lot of credit here. You know, they pitted him early. They've had these fuel problems, but they've kind of fixed that and made an adjustment on their strategy. It's going to pay off.
Coming back from what could put a normal team or a normal guy down, Chase Elliott turns it around. He's going to win in Chicagoland.
Yes! Good job, buddy, there. Great job. Awesome job, guys. By the way, everybody did their job tonight. That's what we got to do from here on out. Awesome job. Thank you very much.
Got to be a little sense of relief there too, Andy.
Yeah, I think so. They lost a lot of points at Charlotte with a mechanical failure, and they've made all those points back up, and now they're sitting here 7 points clear in the lead, and things are going their way for sure.
How about speaking, I mean, we know what a great job he's done as a driver. You know, he realized he's had fast cars, but from a crew chief's perspective, you've run your driver out of gas for a couple of races here. It has to be a big relief from him, a weight off his shoulders.
Yeah, I think it's what he's learned. He's got a driver that as long as you can give him the tools he needs, he's going to do the job for you. You don't have to try to trick it or do anything like that. They were very conservative on the strategy tonight, and it paid off.
Cannot thank you guys enough. Awesome job.
Great celebration by Chase Elliott on the front stretch here, and he's going to bring it around and make his way toward victory lane. He might come back and do a few more. Trevor Bayne, a hard-fought second-place finish on a strategy that was uncertain when it was going down, but boy, it sure worked out at the end. And Bayne needing a great finish on his season this year. Chase Elliott giving the fans what they came to see. The guy who charged hard, raced to the win, is going to celebrate with him here at the Chicagoland Speedway. We're hoping you enjoyed this night as much as we did and as Chase Elliott did. A nice smoky burnout for the fans here at the end. And enjoying the victory, his third on the season for this young driver. Let's go down to victory lane, Jamie.
So, you know, I got a little too free there, so I'm just a little too hard.
Some sticky Gatorade in victory lane. The confetti flies. 18 years old, third win on the season. It's his rookie year, and we're only halfway through. Chase, when you guys unloaded yesterday, you weren't thrilled with the car. How much did you guys have to work on it to turn it into the race winner?
Well, we've made some really good adjustments overnight. I mean, I can't thank Greg and everybody enough. They didn't quit, you know, and our car had speed at times yesterday. We just weren't as good the whole time as I wanted to be. So just really thankful for everything huge thanks to Napa Auto Parts, fans, Nationwide Insurance, what they do for us. Great clips, our supporters with Tax Slayer and Rocky Ridge trucks too. So this is a great night for us in Chicago. Glad to be here and looking forward to Indy.
Take us inside your mind. First time racing at this racetrack in a Nationwide car. That's happened 3 times this year. How do you learn these tracks and you're able to run up front and dominate like you did and take the win?
Well, I had a really good time. I meant to say that a minute ago. Just to race against Kyle and Blaney, we had an awesome race going, I felt like. So that was really cool. But, just try to make the most of your practice laps. And, like I said, the biggest thing is these guys brought me a really fast race car. And that's the biggest thing. That gives me time to learn the racetrack instead of having to work on the car and do it at the same time. So it's, just a pleasure to drive these race cars for General Motorsports. Hendrick Power was awesome tonight up under the hood. And huge thanks to Chevrolet as well there, too. So awesome night.
Good news for you. You are the point leader once again, and he qualifies for the Dash for Cash for next week. Speaking of Dash for Cash, let's go over to Doc Punch.
Absolutely, Jamie. Round 2 of the Dash for Cash history, and here from Nationwide is the Director of Sports Marketing, Jim McCoy, to make a check presentation to Brian Scott. We'll walk up here and look at the smile on Brian Scott's face. 100,000 reasons to be smiling here tonight. Hey, Brian, tell us about your night. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. First, it was just a great night for our Shore Lodge Chevrolet. Started on pole, lead some laps at the beginning. We just needed some adjustments. We got too tight at the beginning, and we were starting to get it close. But, in this Nationwide Series, you don't have a lot of opportunities to make adjustments. We needed 1 or 2 more. Wish the race was a little longer. I think we could have got it tuned in and gave the boys a shot for the win. But this is such a great promotion that Nationwide Insurance does to give us Nationwide regulars a chance to race for $100,000, and it's really neat. And I'm glad that we won it here and we're locked into it for Indy, and we'll just keep going and try to take a couple more of these big checks home. But proud of my guys. Everybody on this team did a great job. They gave me a fast car. Like I said, I think we just needed a little bit more adjustment or two to really be able to have a shot at victory lane.
Brian Scott wins the $100,000 Dash for Cash with a 6th place finish tonight